You say it isn't a big deal. Just another 2 a.m. scroll through their stories, another text you didn't need to send, one more favor. But the truth is ugly. You're loving someone who isn't choosing you, and it's costing you sleep, focus, and your self-respect. Finn saves kingdoms for Princess Bubblegum. Dipper rehearses the perfect confession that ends in a no. Isabella spends her entire summer asking, "What you doing?" while Phineas doesn't even notice. If any of that feels familiar, this one's for you. One-sided love is a sustained emotional investment without the matched intention, effort, or availability from the other person. You're in a relationship with a future that exists only in your head, not a present that you both share. Take Finn, who thought that heroism was romantic currency. Every crisis Princess Bubblegum faced, every emergency call, Finn was there. He thought that each rescue was building towards something, that effort plus time would eventually equal reciprocated love. The episode Too Young shows exactly how one-sided this investment was. When Princess Bubblegum gets de-aged to 13, Finn sees an opportunity here. Maybe the age gap was the only barrier. They go on a date, they work together on pranks, and for a brief moment, Finn thinks his persistence is finally paying off. He finally has a relationship with this person that he always wanted. But even at 13, Princess Bubblegum treats their time together kind of like a science experiment. She's testing her instant bath serum on him, focused on everything except the cheersome romantic side of things. To her, she's just getting comfortable while they work. The episode ends with them sharing a kiss, but only because she needs the heat from a whopping love hug to catalyze her transformation back to her adult age. Thanks, Adventure Time. And the moment she transforms back to adult form, Finn nervously asks Princess Bubblegum for another hug, but gets rejected immediately.
Do you want to hug some more?
What? Finn, you silly. That was like 5 years ago. You really gotta move on.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
In Incendium, we can see the psychological damage that this kind of relationship causes. During a casual hangout, Princess Bubblegum draws Jake onto her lap, but when Finn tries to do the same thing, she pushes him away without hesitation.
Finn, no. Come on, Finn. Don't be weird.
Well, that's some years of heroic service summarized in 3 words. And Finn falls into some serious depression because of it, singing all gummed up inside about feeling hopeless. Jake has to physically intervene because Finn is deteriorating from years of sustained rejection that he never saw coming. That's when reality eventually hits Finn. Princess Bubblegum was never building towards some kind of romance. Every heroic rescue, every crisis call, every moment that Finn thought of as some kind of romantic progress was actually just friendship and appreciation from her perspective. She was consistently kind, but kindness isn't consent to a relationship that someone doesn't want. Effort doesn't equal romance. It all leads to his outburst in Burning Low. The moment Finn thinks he's finally found real love and moved on from PB, she comes back saying he can't be with Flame Princess.
I was in love with you, okay? And you didn't love me back.
But this time he's done. He's learned and he's moved on from PB. He's moved on from her. And that's kind of the truth of one-sided love. You can spend years building a relationship that only exists in your head, while the other person has no idea what you're even doing, or that you're even trying, or that you're even aiming for a romantic relationship, just like PB. But Finn's mistake was never seeing the real hints, and never even asking directly or having an honest and open conversation about it, which is the polar opposite of Dipper. Dipper did everything Finn didn't. He got a clear, honest answer in Into the Bunker, but not how you'd expect. Dipper spends most of the episode torn between confessing his feelings to Wendy and protecting their friendship. Every time he gets close to telling her how he feels, he chickens out, too scared of ruining what they currently have. But when the shapeshifter attacks and nearly kills Wendy in that underground bunker, Dipper has to face the possibility that she or he could die, making the risk of emotional rejection seem a bit more manageable. The fear of losing her forever becomes much stronger than his fear of being rejected, and in that life or death moment, vulnerability becomes unavoidable.
I never even got a chance to tell you I'm like in love with you, Wendy.
Listen, Dipper, I'm like super flattered, but I'm too old for you.
She doesn't give false hope or mixed signals, just a straight no. Dipper respects her decision completely, and while he feels a bit down because of it, Wendy keeps treating him like the friend she always saw him as, and that's what he had always wanted. What Dipper did in that bunker is something most people I don't think can bring themselves to try, but we'll come back to why that matters later and how you can do the same thing yourself if you need to. Clear rejection here protected Dipper from wasting months or years pining after something he could never have. But there's something worse than unclear answers, when your feelings are completely invisible. Every morning, Isabella shows up at Phineas and Ferb's backyard with that same question.
What you doing?
It becomes her daily ritual, showing up, showing some interest, hoping today will be the day that Phineas finally sees her differently. But there's a difference. One key difference that separates Isabella from all the others. She never pauses her life while waiting. In Summer Belongs to You, they travel to Paris, the city of love. When Phineas focuses on repairing their aircraft instead of the romance, Isabella helps with the mission because she genuinely cares about their friendship and adventure and leaves her feelings behind for the moment. It's No Picnic shows Isabella planning the perfect romantic picnic in the park. When Doof's teleportinator accidentally removes everyone else, creating the private moment she's been wanting, they share a sweet time under a tree. But when it doesn't spark romantic recognition in Phineas, Isabella still doesn't see it as failure. She just enjoyed the moment for what it was. Throughout the entire series, Isabella maintains her role as Fireside Girls leader, goes on her own adventures, builds friendships, and lives fully. She never puts her life on hold waiting for Finn to notice her differently, even though she loves to drop by and ask what he's doing all the time. And that's the lesson that Isabella teaches about one-side love. You can care deeply about someone without shrinking your world to fit around them. One-sided love becomes truly destructive only when you pause everything else, waiting for it to become mutual, and when you obsess over it and do everything for that person when there's no recognition back. And the fact that she actually built her own life made all the difference in the end. In Act Your Age, when Phineas and Isabella finally get together as adults, it's not because she convinced him or wore him down. It's because she stuck by him as a friend and became someone that was genuinely worth choosing. If you're recognizing yourself in any of these characters, you might be wondering why one-sided love feels so compelling in the first place and why we stick to it so hard. Why do we keep investing in people who aren't choosing us back, and why do we have such trouble confronting them and ourselves about this? It feels like love because your brain treats uncertainty and the possibility of love and romance like romantic potential, and it gives you mixed signals like slot machine rewards. Just anticipating it gives you some of that reward itself. That makes it almost impossible to quit. And once you see and understand what keeps you hooked, you can finally break the cycle and either start building a life with someone or get the answer that you perhaps don't want. But at least it's an answer. Because a lot of the time, that answer, that closure, is what can break you out of the cycle. Like how Mordecai spent years caught between two women, never able to choose. You might think indecision was his problem, but there's a moment at Muscle Man's wedding in Dumped at the Altar that reveals what was really keeping him hooked. And it's the same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines addictive, that constant chase. You're almost there, always on the brink, almost winning every time. Throughout the series, Margaret gives some attention, then moves away for college. CJ shows interest, then pulls back when Margaret returns. Just enough positive responses from each of them, just enough possibility to keep him hoping, but never enough to feel secure and certain enough in either. This creates the almost treadmill. Each text from Margaret, each smile from CJ, each moment of connection hits Mordecai's brain like that final slot slowly turning towards a jackpot. The uncertainty becomes more addictive than actual relationship satisfaction would be. During Muscle Man's wedding, Mordecai hijacks the ceremony to give a rambling speech about his own romantic confusion. He discusses his uncertainty about love while refusing to acknowledge CJ's feelings, likely because he still has feelings for Margaret. And CJ's response, by running out of the wedding, isn't an overreaction. That is self-respect. She finally realizes that Mordecai isn't choosing between two people. He's choosing himself and is addicted to the uncertainty. The brain chemistry of maybe this time kept him hooked on people who were emotionally unavailable. Just like a slot machine. Mordecai's addiction to mixed signals destroyed some real possibilities with people who were actually interested in him. But his relationship complexities are nothing compared to Brian Griffin's, the final example before we'll finally look at some characters who figured out how to break the cycle entirely. Brian calls himself a nice guy. He helps Lois, he listens to her problems, he positions himself as better than Peter, and that makes him entitled to love, or at least according to him. We see this in Play It Again, Brian, when Peter neglects Lois and Brian gets some alone time with her. Brian believes that his history with their family gives him some kind of special access to her. He's been there for years like a family member, and he knows her better than Peter does. When he makes an aggressive sexual pass at Lois, he's leveraging their entire shared history as permission to cross boundaries. In Single White Dad, when Lois breaks her leg, Brian sees an opportunity again, hoping that caregiving plus their long history will finally transform into romantic access. But when faced with the unglamorous reality of her condition, the smell, the bodily functions, the actual vulnerability, the human being behind all of that, he's repulsed. Brian never loved Lois the person, he loved the fantasy of earning her through nice behavior. Brian's story teaches the harshest lesson about one-sided love. No amount of investment in the other person, emotional, temporal, or otherwise a kind of emotion or obsession with someone really creates any kind of romantic debt, and it doesn't mean that your relationship with that person is anything similar to what's inside your head. Friendship plus effort plus years of proximity does not equal permission to cross boundaries when someone says no. You have to ask, you have to be clear, you have to communicate. All of these assumptions that Brian makes are all in his head, are all in this one-sided relationship that he made to get access to her. So how do you actually rein your heart and brain back in when they've been caught in these psychological traps for months or years? When intermittent reinforcement has you addicted to maybe, when projection has you loving someone who doesn't really exist, when entitlement has you treating nice as currency. These upcoming characters will show you exactly how to break free of that. But before we continue, remember to give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't, and let us know in the comments down below what one-sided romance was actually handled in a very healthy way. Alright, going back to Dipper and Wendy. Dipper's confession shows exactly why clarity is the only thing that can set you free. Dipper's approach works because he removes the ambiguity that's been draining him for months.
I'm like in love with you, Wendy.
When you finally just ask without explanations or justifications, you're not just seeking an answer, you're ending the exhausting loop of wondering and interpreting signals. Notice what happens after Wendy says no. Dipper doesn't complain, he doesn't negotiate, he doesn't ask follow-up questions about why not. He just accepts her boundaries completely, and their friendship not only survives, but thrives because the uncertainty is finally gone, and he understands that he can go after other people and doesn't have to worry about sacrificing a potential future romantic relationship with someone who knows that she's not right for him. Dipper discovers what everyone avoiding this kind of conversation needs to learn. A kind no hurts once, but ambiguity drains you forever. When someone gives you a clear answer, when you finally have that conversation, you finally know where you stand. And knowing where you stand is the only place where real connection can begin. But getting your answer is just step one, because your brain will also still try to convince you that no doesn't really mean no. This is the hardest step, because it requires you to admit something painful. Most of what you thought you had wasn't real. Pearl's journey from devotion to recovery in Steven Universe shows us what this grief actually looks like. When she finally stopped serving Rose's memory and started rebuilding her own identity and learning what history really showed, she had to face a brutal truth, that the relationship she'd built her entire existence around was largely a one-sided projection. When you cross out everything that might not have been mutual, you're usually left with much less than you thought. Sometimes nothing at all. But Pearl's recovery over time teaches us that grief over lost love can be a bridge to rediscovering who you actually are. Not a permanent home where you can stay forever, not an attachment to someone, and not your relationship to specific people, but you as you. Every day you spend loving someone who can't or won't love you back is a day stolen from building a life that someone could actually want to join and dedicate themselves to. Toph in Avatar: The Last Airbender also shows us what recovering from one-sided love looks like when handled really well. When she realizes that Sokka isn't available, she doesn't spiral into self-erasure like Pearl did. She's a strong, independent woman. She feels the disappointment, she processes it quickly, and she moves forward without making Sokka responsible for managing her feelings. She really wanted to be independent and emotionally mature and strong because of her upbringing, and she didn't want to force her feelings onto Sokka when it wasn't right. Sometimes getting that no answer is necessary, but sometimes it's not enough when you're still getting those mixed signals, like the occasional text that makes you think maybe, or the friendly interaction that feels like more than just friendship. Which is why Mordecai had to try something drastic. After Mordecai destroys his friend's wedding and loses CJ, something interesting happens. He disappears for 2 weeks, and it's the best thing he ever did. When Rigby finds him essentially hibernating after the wedding disaster, he's detoxing from the addiction to the mixed signals itself. So no social media stalking or asking mutual friends for updates, nothing like that. And during this period, Mordecai stops treating uncertainty like a puzzle to solve. When he finally comes back, it's for laser tag with Rigby. Normal life that has nothing to do with romance, reshifting his focus. The show's 25-year flash forward proves that this approach worked. Mordecai ends up with someone completely new, not Margaret or CJ. He had just let life happen and he met someone. The cycle only broke when he physically removed himself from the pattern, thought to himself, "What am I doing?" and figured out that he had to live life honestly and clearly with his friends and not allow the mixed signals to get in the way of certainty. That's what most people struggling from one-sided love miss. Your brain can't detox from intermittent reinforcement if you keep feeding it random rewards, if you allow every maybe text, every friendly interaction to reset that addiction timer. The crumbs keep you starving because they're just enough to prevent you from finding an actual meal. Consistency or nothing. Either someone chooses you clearly and specifically, or you choose yourself clearly and specifically. Get that conversation going and stop draining yourself. Mordecai's approach worked here, but he had to completely give up on his chances for dating either Margaret or CJ and to just allow himself to find someone new. Which raises the uncomfortable question, can one-sided love ever become mutual, or is walking away almost always the only option if it allows yourself to find clarity in the moment? For that answer, we have to look at Futurama. Fry chased Leela for years with grand gestures and romantic stunts, but their relationship only became real when he stopped trying to convince her and started doing something completely different. Over the course of Futurama, Fry gradually stops performing and starts just showing up because he enjoys her company. This mirrors what Isabella figured out through Phineas and Ferb. She maintained her feelings while living fully with her own activities and friendships. She didn't pause her life while waiting for reciprocation. And when they finally get together in Act Your Age, it happens because they both grew as complete, solid individuals who chose each other, not because one convinced the other. By Futurama's finale, Fry's proposal to her comes from a place of clarity in his mind, one of the only places.
All this time I've been wondering if I can spend my life with her. But what I realize now is I can't spend my life without her.
This is a moment about two people recognizing what they already have together, just like Phineas and Isabella. Where convincing ends, love can begin. When you stop trying to win someone in a grand romantic gesture or through waiting until they finally recognize you, and then you start actually building a life worth enjoying and worth joining, you become attractive for the right reasons and you will attract someone who will be a good partner. Maybe it's not the person you're opining for and have this one-way relationship with. Maybe it's a third person, but it'll become a life where the other person will want to join and you won't have this one-sided lack of communication. You can't love someone properly until you're also okay loving yourself and being alone and being the right type of partner and person for someone else to choose as well. The people who chase love the hardest usually get it the least, while people who build complete lives and friendship circles and hobbies and relationships get to choose among them and have the best opportunity to share their life with someone with a strong love. And if one-sided love is something you're still experiencing, also check out our video on the dark side of chasing love. It'll give you some more insights that you could use to grow out of this spiral. And speaking of growing, why not help us grow our channel by giving us a subscribe, a like, and a comment down below. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.